Common Core. Love it? Hate it? We're dishing about it. Hello, teacher friend, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be answering a question from Carrie, a fellow teacher who left me a lovely message last week connected to one of my YouTube videos, and then I grabbed it. It's here. And then she had several specific questions about my experience teaching English before Common Core existed and after Common Core was instituted in the state where I taught. And so I thought, sure, I could talk about that. I had lots of experiences. So that's today. I'm going to go through her question point by point, and hopefully Carrie and anybody else who's interested in Common Core and its effect on the English language arts classroom, this is going to work for you. First, a disclaimer. Today, I'm talking only about the English language arts Common Core requirements and my experience as an English teacher. I know the math Common Core was a whole different bowl of spaghetti, and I don't know anything about that. I don't teach math. I'm not trained in it. I have zero opinions about it. But English, I'll definitely let you know what I got. And of course, I took some notes, so I want to make sure I don't forget anything, so I'll be looking at this as we go. All right, first up, Carrie asked, how did curriculum change? Noticeably, I'd say the biggest changes for the English department were an increased emphasis on informational text, which is another phrase for nonfiction. The writing modes were focused on just 3 types of writing at the 9th and 10th grade level, which was argument, informational or explanatory writing, and narrative. And the final change that we noticed at my department was that literary analysis was really minimized as a writing mode in favor of those others. And it made sense to us. I mean, of course, it hurts the English teacher heart because we love to just like dig into the novels and write the analysis. But most adults are going to be focusing on nonfiction reading and writing tasks. And so we want to go ahead and fill up their toolbox with those things. So what we ended up doing was making sure that our lessons still covered the literature standards, but were supplemented with nonfiction materials to support, history or real world skills or modern examples so that we could marry them both together. Okay, next up, she asks, did you have more power, responsibility in deciding what content you taught each year and how you taught it? I did, because I stepped up to help make sure that our school's materials were aligned with the Common Core as one of the leads on the freshman team. So my school was really great because it always empowered the teachers to create our own lessons to support to give our kids what they needed in the way that we, with our professional training, knew was right for our kids. So we always had like a list of okay, let me back up. Common Core came out in 2010, but California state standards started in 1999. So I had been a brand new teacher in 98. I taught for a year, like all brand new teachers do, just gasping for anything. I inherited a classroom with a filing cabinet full of like 30-year-old mimeographs, and I was like, awesome. And so I was just using anything I could for my first year. But then my second year, California state standards came in, and I actually really welcomed it because for me, it was a framework of checkboxes. I could make sure I was doing all the things that I was expected to do, and it was very clearly articulated. So I had already gone through the experience of aligning my classroom with a set of standards so that by 2010, when Common Core came to us, I was a much more experienced teacher. I'd been teaching for a decade at that point, and I really welcomed it. So yes, I mean, I kind of already had the power to set up how I built my curriculum to meet my kids' needs, and Common Core just continued that. So I don't know if I don't think it's that Common Core gave me more power or responsibility, but just a matter of being an older teacher did that. Okay, next. How did you decide each year what and how to teach it? So the Common Core broke up the standards into a 9/10 clump. So freshmen and sophomores were like covered under one umbrella of standards, and 11th and 12th grade was covered under one umbrella. And so what we did on my campus was the freshmen and sophomore teachers got together. We looked at the standards. We figured out which ones made the most sense for each level to focus on. And the 11th and 12th grade team did the same thing. And then once we had our targets, we would still cover the same things that the other level was teaching, but we would go deeper on our targeted areas, if that makes sense. When Common Core came out, the best analogy that I heard, and it still makes me feel good today thinking about it this way, is that the Common Core state standards are like a spiral staircase. And so our students start as kindergartners learning like basic, word recognition skills. And then as a first grader, that first grade teacher builds on those skills and adds a little bit more. And that's what we do. Each year, we're teaching the same types of skills. Like we're always teaching writing, we're always teaching reading, but we're adding more complexity and nuance and refinement to student skills the higher they go. So for the 9th and 10th grade team, we figured out which of the standards were the logical focus areas for that grade level, and then we move forward to make those things happen. So I found it like very easy. I actually personally sat down when the standards were published, and I went through my entire calendar of lessons from the previous year and made sure I could connect every single lesson to one of the state standards, and that I had something that covered every state standard for my grade level. And actually, I found a gap. There was one, I had to write it down, make sure I have the code, under reading of literature, 9th and 10th grade, point 7, which was analyze the representation of a subject or a key scene in 2 different artistic mediums, including what is emphasized or absent in each treatment. And the standards actually suggest that we use an Auden poem and a Bruhl painting to connect the Greek myth of Icarus. And so I didn't have anything where I was comparing to like that. And so I built lessons to do that. So it was a good reminder of me to like make sure I was covering everything. And it was really just a checkbox kind of thing for me. And you also have to know that the Common Core has what I call some catch-all standards. They're just written so broadly that anything of a reasonable academic level that you're doing with your classes will fit into that standard. The writing example is a perfect one. So 9th and 10th grade, .10 under the writing standard is just really broad. It's like have kids write for a long time or a short time for a variety of audiences and purposes. And pretty much any written thing that I have kids work on fits under that standard. So that was really helpful when I realized that as well. And as for the how part of that question, I always, regardless of Common Core, have just tried to put myself in the mindset of the 14-year-old who has to learn this information that I have to share with them. And how would I, if I were 14, want to learn this information? Would a game be the right way? Would a direct lecture work for me? Would a video supplement hook my attention? I basically just try to find the thing that would make it stick in a teenager's head. Okay, next question. How did you feel about Common Core when it was first implemented and now? I feel fine about it. I don't fear change. I think sometimes people get real like territorial or they're exhausted and they just can't take on one more thing. And I'm always open to like, all right, well, what's this next thing coming down the pipe? Because there's always been something else coming. And I just sort of take it all with a grain of salt. So I felt fine about it. The standards were very reasonable. Once I saw them, I was like, okay, these are all like, rigorous academic tasks that would serve students in life. I'm cool with that. I liked the idea that there would be a common set of standards that all American students were learning at the same grade level. So we would have a reasonable expectation if, when I was teaching in California, like say I got a student transferring from Florida, that I would know that as an 8th grader, that student would have been taught the following. So I actually really liked that. I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because there were many times where I would inherit students from different districts or different states, and you never really knew what you were going to get. And the variety of experiences was wide, I noticed. So I liked the idea of some sort of standardization. The glitch, of course, was that not every state got on board with Common Core. Back in the late 2008, 2009 was when it was all kind of hubbub, and then 2010 was when California started. And so I looked it up for you. 41 states aligned with the Common Core, and then other states kind of did their own thing, including Florida. So I don't know, and I have not looked at all the other state standards because I had enough to deal with my stuff. So I thought it was fine. Even today, I don't have a problem with the Common Core state standards. I think we need to have something in place, and a lot of smart people spend a lot of time putting this together, and it's a framework that I've worked within successfully for a long time. So it's not a problem. I sort of think of the Common Core state standards and the California state standards before them as the grocery list, the ingredients that you need to make sure the students eat or consume. And then me as the teacher, I'm the chef. I take those ingredients and I get to decide how to make them palatable and even delicious for my students. So I'm okay with having a grocery list. Okay, and last question, Carrie asks, did you miss anything from the days before Common Core? And the answer is yeah. In my very early teaching days, my campus did, the English department, I think we had a little more fun than we had after Common Core. And I'm all about rigor. I want students to learn. I want to arm them with the tools they need to succeed and all of that. But sometimes we can just hit a pause button and have a good time. So before Common Core, my department every year in the spring for freshmen hosted an Elizabethan fair. And there were games and music and food, and we had an obstacle course, and we had fortune tellers, and we kind of tried to like recreate Shakespeare's time, and students would do performances of scenes from the play, and it was fun. It was a big, sweaty, long 2-day production for the English teachers, but it was community and we loved it. And the teachers who led it, they were our, icons of our department. But then, times change, right? And we cannot hook everything we do in experiences like that to a Common Core state standard. We can hook a lot, by the way. I'm pretty crafty. I'll talk about that in a second. You can actually hook a lot into the standards because they're speaking and listening standards. But some of the stuff you couldn't, and some of the stuff I was actually okay to see go. Like we used to have a contest where students would puff paint a Shakespearean quote on a t-shirt, and it was like a design contest. That was messy. That was expensive for the shirts and the paint. It's kind of messy. And I just felt like, the learning gain maybe for that activity was not worthwhile. But then there were like other things that you really can't replace by reading an informational text article about recreational games for children in Elizabethan era. Like, let's play some games, let's just do that. And so I do feel like there is a little more pressure on teachers these days to make sure it's aligned to the Common Core. But as I've gotten deeper into the codes, I know that you can fit lots of things in, and I decided I'm going to bring the fun back. So because I missed those kinds of things, I wasn't ready to like launch a whole Renaissance fair for the grade level, but I did fold back in quarter trios, which are of every Friday game that we would play. It was a community builder. It was fun. It was sort of like house points in Harry Potter, where I divided the class up into groups of 3 and they all competed each other over a 9-week period. And it was just fun. I could hook that to speaking and listening standards if I had to. I decided to fold in 20 time, which is a passion project, student selected activity, like a big project that they work on for 12 weeks. We do 20% of class time for 12 weeks on it. All kinds of things, from writing screenplays to filming. Like one kid did this, like his race car at a film track, like at a track, but he did it like slow-mo Hollywood style, to starting a blog or learning to play ukulele or starting a small business. One of my students, she started like a princess birthday party fundraiser, and she and her friends would be the Disney's princesses, and they would go to little kids' birthday parties for entertainment, but then that money they would then take and donate to Children's Hospital of Oakland. And all of those kinds of projects, it just brought the juice back to my classroom, which I really needed. And so I really enjoyed that. The caveat that I had to put on 20 time was that every project had to like hook to at least one of the Common Core state standards. That was a condition I negotiated with my principal, and it's a reasonable one because, if a kid's gonna sit there and doodle 20% of the time for 12 weeks, we need a little bit more than that. So I was able to bring back the fun, but kind of give it some guardrails so that we were not wasting lots of time. And it was one of the most successful things that I brought to my classes. So where am I on Common Core? Overall, I'm gonna go thumbs up. People trying to do good stuff. I'm on board with that. And giving structure to people, especially new teachers who don't have that path yet. They haven't created their chef's menu. Oh, I'm mixing metaphors. Driving, guardrails, grocery lists, not good. See, maybe I've been too much informational text. I don't know. But Carrie, I love the question. Thank you for that, for reaching out for me. Anybody else who's along for the ride, if you're still this deep in the video, you are a committed teacher, my friend. What else do you want to know about? I'm enjoying the library. Things are going great there. Thank you for asking. And I miss you guys. I hope you're well. All right, I'm around on the socials. Find me, leave me a message, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, be well. Bye.